911, where is your emergency department?
211.
And,
Two kids are dead.
Hey guys, it's JB here with another episode coming at you. Now today it's a little bit different. We don't have a case with a whodunit human killer on the loose, but this case is very sad and very slithery. Reptile Ocean originally opened back in 1995, first as a zoo. But then at some point the owner, Jean-Claude Savoie, decided it would be better off as more of a reptile store, and also to make the upstairs part, which used to be enclosures for different reptiles, make that an actual apartment for human beings. Ew, humans. Anyway, Jean-Claude had a really good friend named Mandy, and their children ended up being, around the same age and becoming friends, and Mandy and the kids actually ended up moving next door to Jean-Claude. Again, it was above this now reptile store, which at one point was a reptile zoo. But the store sold different things, different animals, and like food and supplies or whatever. And they also had an African rock python, which was actually donated by the SPCA to Jean-Claude because they thought, well, him out of anybody will know best how to take care of this animal. And when they donated it in 2002, at that time it was still a zoo and not a store. So sketchiness already. I'm not quite sure about giving him the snake, but who am I to judge, I guess. But let's fast forward to August 5th, 2013, and enter the Darkwing. Now, Mandy's children were Noah and Connor, 4 years old and 6 years old. And they were going to go have a sleepover with their friend next door, who was Jean-Claude's son. And of course, remember, Jean-Claude was the owner of the reptile store below the apartment. Now, when this story first came out, the news was reporting that the animal, the snake in question, this African rock python, who, by the way, was 4.5 meters long, 45 kilograms, about 100 pounds, and one of the top 5 most deadly snakes in the world, but it's not poisonous because that's not how it kills. You'll find out. Maybe. It's questionable. Anyway, so the snake apparently was downstairs. That's what all the news reports were saying. But then Jean-Claude at some point went on the local news after the tragedy and said the enclosure for this particular snake was actually upstairs in a different area. Either way, that doesn't really change much. I just wanted to point that out. So Noah and Connor go over for a sleepover. Well, actually, first they go out to a farm that Jean-Claude also has, and they're feeding different animals and like petting like goats and ducks and probably like weird reptiles, whatever shit he had out there. And then they came back to the apartment, probably, got some food and watched a movie, who knows. But Jean-Claude went to bed, his son went to bed, and the kids, Mandy's kids, Noah and Connor, again, 4 years old and 6 years old, they went to bed together in the living room area of the apartment. Now, this African rock python somehow got out of its special enclosure and crawled through a vent and made its way into the ceiling above the living room. It crashed through the ceiling tiles, and we don't know if it landed directly on the children, but if not, then very close by. And this snake coiled around Noah and Connor and suffocated them to death. We can only assume the noise from the crash probably woke Jean-Claude up, and that's when he called 911. And before, when I said questionable, that's what I meant. Did the snake land on these two kids, maybe killing it because it was 100 pounds? Or did it land close by and then strangle them? Or did it land on them, kill them, and then still strangle them? Anyway, here's the 911 call from Jean-Claude.
And what do you mean the kids are dead?
That's where Reptile Ocean is. There's a python that got out and killed the two kids.
Say that again?
There's a python that got out. It's a store here. We have
a python?
Yeah, man.
Are they your kids?
Yeah, my neighbor's kids. She knows. She's here too. She's next door. She's freaking out.
He's reporting that a python snake
It's
got out and killed 2 kids.
It's retarded.
Okay, go ahead, sir. Can you tell me exactly what...
Well, the snake's still out. I got another kid up there. I got to catch the snake. Can you just send somebody here, please?
So the RCMP, the police, they finally arrive at the scene. Apparently, Jean-Claude has blood all over his hands, maybe literally and figuratively. But they haven't caught the snake. He's freaking out. We need to catch this thing. So they do catch it in the laundry room. Police would go on to say later that the snake was very aggressive, was lunging at them and trying to bite them, and a terrifying scene. Apparently they found snake skin all over the boys, as well as puncture bites from the snake on the boys. And as you can imagine, after this horrible night happened, the small town of Campbellton, New Brunswick, was mortified, and lots of people were outraged. They didn't understand why this snake was even allowed, or why anybody would want to keep a snake like that at their house, especially if there's children involved. And it was very upsetting for the whole town. The story made international news. It was on the BBC. It was on ABC in America. It was in Australia on News 9. Like, I remember the coverage was everywhere because it's such a crazy story, and it's so sad. There's little kids involved. They're the cutest little kids, and everyone said these kids were so well behaved and just polite and gentlemen. And the other thing is, nothing had really ever happened like this before in Canada. There had been reports of incidents like this in the US. I think it's much more common if you live there to own pets like this, especially depending on where you live. Shout out to the dirty South. But anyway, so after this happened, there weren't any charges at first, but Jean-Claude really did not like the attention, all the negative attention, and he ended up moving to Montreal in 2015. However, in the fall of 2016, he was charged with criminal negligence in the deaths of Noah and Connor. Basically, the charges stated that it was Jean-Claude's responsibility to make sure that they would be safe while sleeping over with their friend at his house. So obviously that did not happen. They were not safe. And the snake is obviously like the big villain in this story, but a lot of people thought an equal villain was Jean-Claude. And there was a lot of confusion about the story because a lot of experts said that, how could the snake fit up the vent? And he must have, really sucked in all his shit and squiggled through. I don't know. But the other problem was that there had been past complaints about Reptile Ocean in the past, including from employees who would say that the vent was always, or had always been an issue. Like Jean-Claude would forget to cover it up, or there had been definitely a bad reputation before. People just didn't really feel safe or want these animals in their small little town. And the store was only located a few meters away from the town hall. It was right in the booming section of Campbellton, I guess you could say. And there was actually another incident where Jean-Claude himself had fallen asleep and had woken up to see another one of his animals, a python, dangling from the ceiling. So, this kind of thing was not unheard of. He must have told people about that once it had happened, because once this story happened involving Noah and Connor, that story reemerged. And, if that wasn't a wake-up call to get your shit together, Jean-Claude, I don't know what else would have been.
It was a day fraught with emotion for the family, arriving this morning for the visitation, where a constant stream of people came to pay their respects. Tammy Lord's daughters went to school with Connor.
They have a hard time sleeping.
They have fond memories of the 2 little boys.
They were so well behaved. Awesome little men. You could tell they were very well loved, brought up in a very, really, really nice, loving home.
They're just like angels. They're cute, but it's so hard to see that. Oh, God. Poor mother, eh? Oh.
They were such beautiful boys, well behaved, smiles on their faces all the time.
And once again, it makes you wonder, like, how desperate was the SPCA back in 2002 to donate this guy, this fucking snake, thinking that he would be the best fit owner. It's crazy to me. Anyway, so back in the fall of 2016 now is when he was actually charged with criminal negligence. And basically they had a jury and Jean-Claude was acquitted. They did not find him criminally responsible. It was a sad trial. You know, Mandy even testified and she said, you know, this guy used to be my best friend. And she was very emotional, obviously. The snake itself ended up being destroyed. Mandy's lawyer ended up telling the press that, you know, she was very disappointed at the outcome of the trial. But it's just one of those things. I mean, it's not going to bring them back. I guess you would feel better if the owner was in jail, if this happened to your kids. I don't really know. I don't have kids. Yeah, I guess if it happened to my dog, though, then yeah, I'd probably want the owner in jail. So that's the only thing I can really relate it to. What do you guys think? Let me know. But I should say, like, this whole operation to me just sounds so sketchy. They actually ended up taking out other animals once this incident happened that were straight up illegal. Like, I guess he had a special permit for this African rock python. And it's probably really easy to get, especially if you're getting animals donated to you. But they took out, like, crocodiles and iguanas and a whole bunch of different animals that should not have been in his possession. And I don't know, I'm certainly not blaming the mother in any way, but I just can't see myself living in the same building as this fucking reptile store / breeding ground for, I don't know, this African rock python and his devious ways. Like, no, I mean, I just couldn't do it. Maybe the rent was really cheap. Maybe you had your power included, but no, get them motherfucking snakes off this motherfucking plane. It should also be noted that it has been documented that pythons and snakes like this don't normally react in such a way, and that he must have been very hungry, and that, you know, potentially the gossip, the rumors around town that this guy didn't treat his animals well and didn't feed them enough and didn't take care of them enough, maybe there's some truth to that. Well, that's a wrap. What do you guys think of this case? Let me know in the comments. Do you think it's cool that people own these type of animals? Would you live near someone or above or underneath someone who had one? I don't think I could. I just wouldn't, actually. I remember one time I looked at a place and they had a snake like right next door, and no. I don't want to live near birds either. Birds are fucking gross and weird and not as deadly probably, but thanks so much for tuning in. Subscribe, like the video, comment below. We'll see you again soon. Stay safe.